Porkins Policy Radio, offering a unique perspective on everything. Geopolitics, culture creation, the reality of the world we live in. Coming to you live from New York City, your host, Pierce Redmond.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Porkins Policy Radio. As always, I am your host, Pierce Redmond, and you can find this show here at American Freedom Radio, AmericanFreedomRadio.com, as well as on my website, which is PorkinsPolicyReview.com. And if you are new to the show, there are lots of ways to listen. You can follow through email updates. You can sign up on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, a whole bunch of other podcatchers. You can hear me replayed on Friday nights from 10 to midnight on a host of other networks, including People's Internet Radio, PSN, a whole bunch. I'm also on Ed Opperman's Spreaker channel and his iTunes as well. And on Saturdays, you can hear me on KYAH 540 AM in Utah from 6 to 8 Mountain Time. I have to kind of check. I don't know if we're going to be renewing with some of the new stations and stuff, so we'll update that. And I quickly just want to get a few things out of the way, and then I will bring on my guest, which is Ed Opperman. But very quickly, I just wanted to say there is a new episode of Open Minds on Air, which was posted up. It was on the Open Minds website, but it's now posted on my website. So check that out if you haven't listened to it already, and we'll have another episode hopefully pretty soon. And I also did a really fun 2 hours with a good friend of the show, Aaron Franz, on Trans Resistor Radio, which is now being broadcast live on Ocelli.com. So I did an hour with Aaron, and then more or less an hour with Aaron and Uncle. And I just wanted to say it's funny, we're getting, I don't know if Aaron is, but I certainly have been getting a couple of I don't know, I guess strongly worded emails and some comments about some of the things I said about the TM movement, Transcendental Meditation. I just got a very long comment saying that it's not a cult and that I was crazy for saying that, and insinuating that me asking for money on Patreon is that's a cult by my own definition. And I just want to say, I think people again, this is the PR that the TM movement has, where if you say anything negative or if you point out any of the issues with TM, you're instantly attacked. So I'm not at all surprised, but I think people really should just kind of take a step back, not just sort of going with their emotions. I understand people are into TM, they're into meditation. I think a lot of people are really into David Lynch and, are maybe angry that, I'm criticizing David Lynch as well. But people should check out Gina Katina, who was in the TM movement for like 50 years. She was born into it. She definitely believes that it was a cult. And there's a difference between someone that does TM for 20 minutes every day and people that are within the higher echelons of the TM organization. It is, first off, it is a religion. There's no way around that. It's not just like a fun little meditation thing. It is a religion. That's why the Pentagon is not allowed to administer TM practices, because it's a religion. And people can also go to tmfree.blogspot.com, which is a very critical examination of TM practices and the founder of TM as well. But that's enough. And I will say, though, Aaron, Franz, and I are going to do, we're going to do an episode on the David Wants to Fly, the documentary. A listener of both of ours, Wayne, and I'll send you a proper email soon, Wayne, about getting a copy of the journal. I'll see what I can do. But Wayne actually posted a version of it up on archive.org. So we're going to be reviewing the film and probably talking a bit more about TM. So if you have any more questions or comments, or you're angry at what I say, you can wait or send them in, and maybe we'll address them on this a bonus podcast. But anyway, enough of me going on. I mentioned there at the beginning, as I do pretty much every week, that I'm also I'm replayed on Ed Opperman's Spreaker channel and his iTunes, which is a huge deal for me. And lo and behold, we've got Ed Opperman on the line. So Ed, how are you? Ed, are you there? I can't hear you. Are you there?
Yeah, you can't hear me at all?
Oh no, I can hear you now. Yeah, maybe your mic was muted.
No. I said I just started doing TM.
Oh, did you?
No, I'm just kidding. But I am going to do a thing. And there's a thing up in Northern California I'm going to do. I think it's either a week or 2 weeks, where it's silent meditation. You eat only vegan food. It's free too. You go up there. It's a meditation place. Silent meditation. You don't talk for I think it's 7 days up in the woods up there in California. So I'm going to give that a try.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, and let me preface this. I'm not against meditation, and I know a lot of friends that do silent meditation. So again, I'm not just saying this as some, because you know what it is that like you say something and people assume, oh, you're anti this, or you don't really know what you're talking about. I know tons of people I know people that have done TM as well, and have had perfectly fine experiences. It's not to say that this is the same goes for, there are people in Scientology that are very well adjusted people, normal, and Scientology works for them. I mean, you can look at any religion or cult or control group, and sometimes there are lots of positive things that come out of that. So it's not to say that but we should lock up all the Scientologists or stuff like that. But I think it's people get, emotions run high when it comes to things like that. And I'm sure Ed, you get your fair share of this all the time. How are you doing otherwise?
Otherwise, I lost about 30 pounds, man. I'm feeling really good.
I just heard you on an episode you did recently. You lost a lot of weight, and you haven't had a drink in like 90 days. 90 days,
yeah. No, in fact, 90 days. No sugar, no coffee, no alcohol, no bread. I had my first piece of vegan bread last night. In about 90 days, I swam this morning. I swam 45 laps, which is a little over half mile, and I skipped my.
Oh, say again there, Ed. I just lost you for a second. Oh, Ed, if you can hear me, I can't hear you right now, and I'm not sure if that's my internet connection. I might have to move into the another room of my house. Can you hear me now, Ed? Oh well, it looks like I am not able to hear Ed, and I think he might have just dropped the call. So hopefully we'll get Ed Opperman back on the line soon. I think it's really just the internet in my house is really abysmal. I'm going to attempt to, as I'm talking to you live, move into my living room, which is a little bit closer to the router, and theoretically that might help us get a slightly better connection. So I'm literally walking, carrying my laptop with my microphone in hand into my living room, and I'm sure this is very exciting for the listeners out there listening to me move around my house. So hopefully we'll get Ed back on the line momentarily. But I guess maybe I'll continue a little bit more with some of the TM stuff, because I know that it like we were saying before on Open Minds, they have very good PR when it comes to this kind of stuff. They are able to portray this image, that number one, it's not a religion, which is very similar to how things like Scientology will work. Scientology will pretend not to be a religion when they're initially getting people interested in the group. And this is how a lot of cults or authoritarian groups, extremist groups, they'll all operate under that guise. And it's only later when you start to get into it that you understand that this is that there's more to all of it. I think people should just sort of keep that in mind when they're complaining to me, and that's fine. I don't mind the criticism. I think some people might be angry at the way I talked about David Lynch's films, which is also fine too. I mean, I am not a big fan of his movies, and at times I might have been projecting a little bit. But there is Aaron did a really good episode. I think it's episode 120 of Transistor Radio, where he laid out a lot of stuff about David Lynch, about TM, and the connection between transcendental meditation. A lot of times can have a very dissociative effect on people. They can become dissociated from their bodies, from their minds, and it can really have a lot of a very negative impact on someone. And Aaron makes a really interesting kind of point that that's part of what's going on in a lot of David Lynch's films, both to the characters, but both in the sort of style of it, that his films are very dissociative. So again, I don't think it's entirely inappropriate to compare some of David Lynch as the artist with the transcendental meditation movement as a whole. But enough of that. I hope we'll get Ed back on. It looks like he is no longer on Skype, so I'm not sure what the problem with that is. But hopefully we'll get that sorted out. I guess, I was going to talk with Ed about some of the stuff that's going on in the news, and I guess I can kind of, maybe I'll start to get into that right now, and then hopefully when Ed gets back on, we'll just sort of pick up from there. There's been quite a lot going on. We've got this IG report that I want to get Ed's opinion on, the Inspector General's report. And this was, I guess, this is sort of like in the same sort of realm as the, release the memo, that sort of stuff. Everybody was, so super excited, and of course, the goalposts have been moved over and over again. Oh, and Ed, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Thank God, I'm back. I'm
okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I've actually moved into my living room, so I'm a little closer to the router. So hopefully that will help. With the internet connection.
No,
but
it was definitely
Oh, it was on you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, no worries. You're back now, and then I can stop kind of rambling. It's like you're probably better at this than I am, Ed. But when when your call drops or the guest drops, and you suddenly you have to just kind of start talking and babbling, and I can never do it well. I always sound like I'm freaking out in the background. As I was trying to write you an email, seeing what was going on while I was sort of talking.
Better. I'm no worried.
Well, Ed, I wanted to talk about a number of issues with you. The first one, and because I think this one is we can kind of wrap it up, so we don't have to spend too much time on it, is this the Inspector General report. Right. Now, I didn't really read through much of it. I saw some of the highlights on in the mainstream news that was sort of reporting on it. But I mean, it's huge. It's like 500 pages. I doubt that most people have really read through all of it. But what is your take on the IG report? Because it was sort of up there with the release the memo, and you've covered this on your show quite a bit. People were obsessed with this memo, and then, nothing really came of it. People were saying the IG report was going to reveal all this stuff, and it didn't really do. I didn't see much of anything. And apparently, according to Hannity, is a great source on all this. There's like another secret IG report. So, what do you make of the Inspector General report, which is quite large, and I'm sure there is some juicy stuff in there. But what do you, Ed? What do you think of it?
Well, yeah, it's a 500-page report. I haven't read the report yet, but I do plan to. Yeah, I'm one of those idiots. I will read the whole freaking report. There's 2 days of hearings, too. Right now, this minute, there's hearings going on right now. They have the IG in front of Congress right now, and they're interrogating him. But they're really not covering it. Even Fox isn't covering it. So there's really not much coming out. I don't know if you knew this, but did you know that there was a guy here in Nevada, this guy named Wright, who lives here in Henderson, and he got a homemade armored truck, and he drove it to the middle of, not the Hoover Dam, but the Hoover Dam Bridge bypass. It's called the Tillman Bypass, which is this bridge right next to Hoover Dam, so you don't have to cross over Hoover Dam when you get into Arizona. And he parked this armored truck right in the middle of the bridge, And started, we had a rifle in there. He blocked all the traffic, and he started holding up signs saying, "Release the OG report. Release the OG report." You heard about that?
I did, only because you talked about it on your show.
Okay, yeah, because no one's heard about this, and you wonder how much of this stuff is going on in other small towns all over the country. Like, here's a guy who's listening. What the hell was that? You okay?
Oh yeah, no, that's just a motorcycle going to, it's
I thought they got you. I thought the armored truck blew.
No. Well, yeah, I mean, again, I move into my living room. It's just as loud as in my my bedroom. So.
But here's the thing, though. Here's a guy who's listening to Hannity and listening to these nuts, reading QAnon about this IG report. He's convinced there's a second secret super... Like, you know what I mean, man? Listen, these guys with the memo, once you release the memo, it's going to make Watergate look like a Snickers bar. They released the memo. There's nothing there. Then there was another one. I even emailed you. There was something after the memo that once they released that, everything was going to turn around and, Hillary's going to get arrested, Comey's going to get arrested.
Right.
We're really in trouble, man. We're really in trouble in this country, where people like Hannity are ginning up the gullibles. They're ginning up the rubes, and they get them all excited and they get them all worked up. And here we got a guy loading up an armored van. Yeah, this is scary stuff, man, because people believe this stuff, that there's something going on. There was nothing in the IG report that, as a matter of fact, even the stuff they talk about where these FBI agents, like the worst they could come up with is these guys were making derogatory remarks about Trump. Their investigation. Well, you don't think that happens in every single FBI investigation, that they're making derogatory remarks about the subject of their investigation? I've interviewed defendants who they talk about when they were arrested by the DEA or the FBI, that they're openly saying, "Hey, we're going to make up charges. We're going to arrest your relatives if you don't cooperate with us." Yeah.
Oh, just regular cops when they arrest somebody. I mean, especially if they're trying to lean on someone, they'll say whatever. That we're going to send you to prison. You're going to get raped and killed, and I mean, yeah, they're not. That should be law enforcement, regardless if you're innocent, guilty, whatever. They're never really nice to the people they're investigating. I mean, and Ed, I'm sure you see this all the time. That's just normal law enforcement. The FBI is not above that at all.
Absolutely, and I'm not saying it's justifiable. We shouldn't have this in any case, but why is Trump above the law in this situation? Obviously, and the guy's dirty as hell all over the place, man. My God. IG report, what's a lot of nothing, man. Okay, a couple of misbehaving FBI agents. That's about it, And even during they're making a big deal about how these FBI agents, during their investigation of Clinton, they're saying to each other, "Hey, there's nothing here. We're wasting our time. We shouldn't be investigating this." That's normal too. This is just investigator talk. And they make a big deal out of every kind of crazy thing. Like there was a secret society, on another text message.
Yeah.
And there's just, man, they got no shame. These guys, man, they're running with this stuff, and no shame.
Well, that's like Hannity saying that there's another secret report that's even more damning against Hillary and these I don't know, these two star-crossed lovers in the FBI. What's it, like Strozik and someone, I forget.
Page.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I got It's interesting. We had that interestingly timed release of Jeffrey Epstein's FBI file, which is not his complete file. This is a very, just a few snippets, basically. There was a bunch of stuff within that FBI file that was relevant and interesting. But of course, what do they focus on? One single little line, which doesn't really mean anything. And there was just an interesting an article I found by Jane Musgrave, who writes for the Palm Beach Post, who's one of the few journalists who's actually covered this story from beginning to now. And they were asking. She asked all sorts of people, including Brad Edwards, is one of the who said, he didn't believe that this one line meant that Epstein was working for the FBI. And he says, I wouldn't be surprised if they had back from us because they've been, nothing surprises me, but it's equally surprising that we never heard about that. If it was a big deal. And it's funny, they pick up on that one little line there, and then in 500 pages, there's nothing here. I mean, there must be something in the IG report that's interesting.
Yeah, I did a whole show about that. I call it a shot across the bow, because why would they release? Why on earth would the FBI, Department of Justice, release this FBI notes? This is real background stuff, man. On Jeffrey Epstein, the same day they had to go to Congress with their hat in hand and release all their information that they had on these. They had to release some secret information on a report, some informants they had or something like that. So the same day they had to eat crow and go before Congress, they didn't want to, they were fighting it, they released this Jeffrey Epstein stuff that mentions Trump. Trump's name comes up in those documents. Yeah. So.
Oh no, Ed! I was on Chuck's show talking about it, and I did give you credit, but I sort of ripped off your theory there, because it is true. It's of all the times to release it, it's right now. And what's even weirder is like every time there's like a mention of like a subpoena, that they've subpoenaed someone, but all the names are blacked out, or mentions of like something in New York, some witness, that's always preceded by like a mainstream news article that mentions Donald Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't know if, maybe I'm reading too much into it, and I've been looking at, 4chan and QAnon posts too much, but there seemed to be like a deliberate, there was a message with whatever that report was and why it was released, and to all of these like right-wing pseudo news outlets instantly jumped on this one little tiny line to distract from there was some real information in those FBI files, including that, there was this guy, they mentioned, I think I sent it to you, Ed, this guy Eppinger, who was he trafficked women in the Florida area. And he was arrested, I think, down in Orlando. And they mention him in this FBI report. And interestingly, he was trafficking a lot of women and he was promising them that they would become models, and they would, they were going through some sort of fake modeling agency. And lo and behold, this guy Eppinger had also abused Virginia Roberts, and he knew Epstein as well. They were friends. So, there's some really interesting little nuggets in that whole thing, but of course it's just that one line that, they all focus on.
Well, it talks about traveling to New York, traveling to Tampa, traveling to all these different areas to interview. Wasn't even Puerto Rico, too, was one. Yeah. To interview other victims and other witnesses, and even that they even hand-delivered target letters to people in New York. So, there's a lot more went on in that investigation than I'd love to see what really went on in that case and find out. But one thing, too, that might be working percolating behind the scenes is that the Michael Cohen lawsuits and the seizing of his cell phones. He's got 15 cell phones. Everything's gonna be on there, and they're putting together. And so, and I know that there's going to be stuff in there with his litigation with Keith Davidson. I know that Epstein's going to come out in all that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, certainly. Well, of course, it also, too, I mean, Michael Cohen had to be Trump's lawyer when this was happening, during 2008, when the FBI is looking into this. We know that at some point during this, Trump was subpoenaed and gave testimony about Epstein. I mean, and again, it makes total sense because one of the main victims worked at Mar-a-Lago. And there were allegedly other victims that worked at Mar-a-Lago. So certainly Trump would have been questioned, at least somewhat, when it comes to all this. Another sort of like interesting kind of like tangent sort of connected to this, is Roger Stone, right, who, I believe there's more to the Roger Stone, Trump, Epstein thing than meets the eye. But what do you make of like Roger Stone just sort of like digging himself deeper and deeper into? I mean, this is a guy who used to be. He would always talk about there's like Stone's rules where it's deny everything or and he was always like on the offensive. It seemed like he was you couldn't take him down. Now it seems like every day he keeps screwing up like royally. I mean, what do you make of that, Ed? I mean, and that now it's like he forgot that he met with some Russian who wanted $2 million because he for in exchange for dirt on Hillary Clinton, and Roger Stone just forgot about that.
Yeah, they sent an oops letter over to the, I guess it was the congressional investigation. When you take a deposition or something like that, the witness after the deposition will meet with his attorney, and sometimes they're investigating. And you go over stuff and you ask them questions, because a lot of times the subject of the deposition will exaggerate or lie during the deposition. And you gotta really hold them to it and say, hey man, what's going on here? And you can send a letter saying, hey, we made a mistake. Okay, we're sorry. My client was confused. He forgot.
He misspoke.
Yeah, like Stone says, he forgot. He forgot that this Russian guy shows up, meets him at a cafe, and wants $2 million to give him dirt on the claims. He forgot.
I know.
Wait, what's he being interrogated about? He forgot this. Okay, well, you forget things. I forget things all the time. But now, have you read, though, this 28-page dossier that he put together? We'll call this guy Greenberg. His name is Gennady Vlaskov, but he uses the name Greenberg when he was meeting with Stone. Have you read this 28-page investigative report?
No, is this what he was trying to sell to Stone?
No, this is Stone put out a statement today saying, hey man, okay, I forgot, and it doesn't matter that I forgot because nothing happened anyway, and this guy's an FBI informant, and he's a dirty guy, he's a dangerous criminal, a wanted felon, all this kind of stuff, right? He puts out this statement, really on Stone Cold, whatever his website is, right? But then check out this dossier we've put together on Greenberg. It's called the Greenberg dossier, and it's on democratdossier.org. You could find it, right? And he put together this report, and he had real PIs do this, okay? And this is like a $30,000 report. It's a 28-page report. This is a really they got a lot more in the background, but they put together this PDF file with like a mugshot with like a fake paper clip, and then there's like other little notes like scotch tape, 20 pages long. It's really like out of a movie, and that big confidential stamp, confidential stamp. I got one of those stamps, confidential stamp there, this stuff, man. But Stone has been working on this report for a long time, months. They have hold of this guy's Greenberg entire INS file, and they posted this from it. And these didn't get a hold of public records. They didn't get copies of stuff. They got pages from his INS file with handwritten notes on it. So this is stuff they downloaded through FOL. They got a copy of it and made copies of it. All right, they got all stuff in here, man. 3 months worth of work. They've been for a long, long time. It talks about this guy Greenberg had informant for a long time, like 17 years. He had some shady stuff going on. A $5 million scam in Russia, where he would do these.
Say that again, Ed. Sorry, we were just you were breaking up a little bit there.
Sorry, I'll talk a little too. This guy Greenberg in Russia used to do these scams where he would take businesses and say, "Hey, I'm going to bring you 15 cans of meat from the United States. It's coming over on this ship. Give me an advance of the money." And he'd get the money, take the $3 million, the $5 million, and run. Okay. Then he took off to the United States. He did become an FBI informant while there's no doubt about that. And get this, so he talks about that some of the things he was informing on was money laundering, drug cases, and human trafficking. Stone talks about, because the guy's a shady character. He's pulling guns on people. He's leaving strip clubs, DUIs. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's a regular guy. He's out there doing stuff, okay? He's got all these properties he's living in, man, with no income, traveling all over the world. Here's a picture of me in front of the White House. There's a picture of me over here. But he's got some pictures of this guy, has some pictures of himself with Sly Stallone, Steven Spielberg, and Oliver Stone. Okay? And interesting how he's ratting out human traffickers, and he happens to be hanging out with some of these characters. But Stone is burying himself with this, though, by portraying this guy Greenberg as a Russian mobster. There's no doubt. He mentions all his connections to Russian mobsters and stuff, to money laundering, to all these crimes. So Stone he's putting together a case saying, look, I met with a guy who's up to his neck in espionage and Russian dirt and Russian crimes and getting away, and a double agent here and a double agent there, but trying to emphasize that the guy's an FBI informant so that he was setting me up. A lot of FBI informants are out there doing stuff. He's making it worse for himself.
Right. Yeah, I know, totally. I don't get, yeah, exactly. I mean, so what? I mean, like, both of us have mentioned Al Sharpton's an FBI informant, you know. So yeah, I that's what I mean. It just seems like Stone keeps making everything worse. Even if the guy was an FBI informant, you've got you know he's connected to Russian mobsters, probably Russian intelligence, or at least, you know, on some level there's something there. And you're still meeting with him. And this is the one I find really interesting. You know, Stone is supposed to be this, you know, genius who can, you know, see in 3D, 4D chess, QAnon style, but he can't see this guy for who he is. And that is sort of like goes for all of these. You know, there's that other FBI, so that professor or whatever that you know worked as an FBI informant, and Carter, and there's it. I mean, again, how the hell does Trump have no security team around him saying, you know, maybe don't meet alone with this guy because he's got a history of, you know, funneling information to the government. It's just that to me just shows again their complete lack of awareness that, you know, this isn't a bunch of like crooked politicians and mobsters in New York or Atlantic City. Okay, this is like the real deal. This is the White House. This is international espionage. You know, this is not what he's used to, and it's just kind of pathetic. Then have you seen this stuff like Stone is sending these like death threats to that comedian Randy Credico? Have you seen that, Ed?
No, I have not seen. No, I did hear. I go talking about that, and there was something about a pet, stole a pet, something.
Well, there's some. So I guess at some point Stone had, when he couldn't control the narrative, and he kept, you know, misremembering or forgetting the chain of events with him and WikiLeaks and Assange. At one point, Stone had floated the thing that, well, it was my buddy Randy Credico, who's a comedian in New York, I believe. You know, he floated this idea that Credico was really his go-between with WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. And I believe, I'm not entirely sure, well, I'll find some articles we'll link up in the show notes. My understanding is that, you know, Credico was a big supporter of WikiLeaks and might have even known somebody. But according to Credico, you know, he says, no, this is more of Roger Stone's kind of lies. You know, he's hanging me out to dry. He's making me look like, you know, I was the mastermind behind all of this. And Credico showed, I think it was some Mother Jones or Slate, one of those outlets, these like text messages where Stone is, you know, I'm going to kill you, and calling him all sorts of names, and you know, that we can't repeat on the air. And Stone doesn't deny that. Like when they called him up, he was like, "Oh yeah, I did say those things, but you're taking them out of context." You know, when he's talking about he's going to kill him and, you know, chop him up and all this stuff. You know, well, it was in a different context. And this just seems like, again, it seems so out of character for the image that Roger Stone has cultivated about himself. I mean, he seems like an idiot. He keeps messing up. You know, I mean, who was that guy, his former protege, who was going on all the talk shows, and, you know, Aaron Burnett asked him if he was drunk and stuff.
Yeah, Mumford or something like that. Mumford?
Yeah.
Mumford, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you're under investigation for a year, 2 years, you know, and you got this kind of heat on you, your body chemistry changes. You know, your thinking changes. You're like a cornered rat. You know, you make bad decisions. This is what happens. This is why so many people, when they're out on bail, wind up back in jail for committing stupid new offenses, like Manafort. This stupid thing where he's contacting witnesses on his own. Yeah, you know, like it's just, you know, it's just the craziest thing. Like you don't have, you know. It's just the craziest stuff. where they're all in panic mode. And just think this whole Greenberg thing again, man. If Stone has known about this for this long, and this guy has been an FBI informant, and by the way, this guy talks about in his own affidavits, his own INS affidavits, that yes, when I travel to Iran, when I travel to Korea, I contact the FBI and I give them an update on what I'm doing. So I'm pretty sure he's been updating his FBI handlers when he was meeting with Stone and all of this. So you can only imagine what Mueller has on Stone. If Stone can put together this report on this guy, Mueller must have about 10 times this. So, yeah, Stone is. I see the crumbling of the whole stone wall around Trump. They're all falling apart.
No, and I mean it's kind of wonderful seeing Roger Stone's world implode. Just because he's so full of himself and is one of those people that is like so keyed into like the most sort of corrupt, nasty side of politics, especially here, like in New York. The shenanigans he got up to with Elliot Spitzer and the psychopath who ran. He's running multiple candidates for governor, including the madam of one of these like very powerful escort services. Right. Here's one that nobody likes to mention. I think this was in the Albany Times-Union, which is a big newspaper up there. A lot of people are talking about the Nexium cult. This is this cult that was branding women, that this guy Rainier was in charge of. It sort of was, and certainly, he used the cult, like in an overt sense. It was, he would do these like team building things for big corporations. You had what's his name? The guy from Virgin was a big supporter of them. Richard Branson, other rich people. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Richard Branson used to take all these he would have Rainier come and they would do these big courses and for all of his like executives and things. That's how he sort of originally started Nexium, was as like he was like a business guru who could, teach about team building and all this sort of stuff. And then he slowly kind of developed it more and more into this very brutal, I guess, when you get to the upper echelons of this group, the inner circle, again, just like in TM or any cult, what happens in the in the inner circle is very different from what you see on the outside. I don't know that Richard Branson was aware that they were trafficking women and branding them and stuff like that, but certainly it was happening. But guess who is mentioned all the way back when the Union first started exposing Nexium, because it was based in Albany. Roger Stone was one of the guys that was doing PR for them behind the scenes. But nobody's talking about that, and again, you see people are jumping, these like YouTube armchair investigators that are jumping to these Nexium. It's QAnon predicted this, and this is about Hillary Clinton is involved with this, and Bill, and this is all about traffic and MS-13, all these things, and lo and behold, again, of all the people, Roger Stone was doing PR work for Nexium back in the day. Now I think it was briefly, but still.
We even Daniels had one of those Nexium tests on her.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I know. It's like, what are you talking about?
Well, so he's advising Dennis Hoff, the Dennis Hoff, the pimp here, the brothel owner, Dennis Hoff down here in Nevada. The Stone is advising his campaign.
Oh yeah, well, haven't they been friends for decades?
Well, he seems to be friends with a lot of people like that. He was really good friends with Andy Kaufman and Bob Zamuda, too. I had him on the show. He's in my members section, and we did an interview with Dennis Hoff. And then after the interview, we stayed in contact back and forth. He was supposed to give me Heidi Fleiss. And you know who he's friends with, too? We mentioned it. You know who he's friends with, too? Wayne Bobbitt was his buddy. But also the other one is that guy from the Four on the Floor murders in the Canyon.
Yeah, the Wonderland murders. I know who you mean. Liberace's boyfriend.
Right, Liberace's boyfriend and Michael Jackson's boyfriend, too. I can't believe I can't remember his name, but that guy who's in prison right now on some really bizarre charges too. You know, the last charge is a guy didn't throw in prison for like 30 years.
For like meth or something, right?
No, he was in possession. He went with a John. You know, he did some prostitution because they just did a movie about him. He was living high he was doing good, and you know he was out and stuff like that. And then he blew his parole because he took some guy's credit card after a motel visit.
Right.
And they gave him 30 years. I was supposed to interview him from prison. I could probably still do it, but you know, I think
Scott Thorson.
Right, that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, look,
and I forget his connection to the Wonderland murders, but like he knew all those guys, right?
No, he was there at Eddie Nash's house.
Oh, that's right.
When Eddie Nash ordered the murder, he witnessed Eddie Nash order the murder, and then testified, became a government witness, and then he was in a motel room, and they came in and shot him up, you know, and he survived that. What a fascinating guy! I got to get this guy on the show because they already agreed to do the interview, but it's really tough dealing with Hoff and his publicity guys. See, because Hoff can't, you can't advertise a brothel, so he likes all free publicity. So he puts out press releases every day if you get on his list. You know? If you get, you know, he has something to say every day. This guy, man, to get on the media and stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You know who Hoff is also good friends with, or was at one point, is Tucker Carlson.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, there's like pictures of them hanging out at the Bunny Ranch.
Yeah, see, I think he makes a lot of connections through that, and the, you know, the obvious things you can do at a bunny ranch, you know, to have it.
Yeah, well, exactly, of course, you know, and it's legal too.
Right. Interesting.
We were sort of talking a few days ago, sort of on Skype about this, Ed, but I mean, Dennis Hoff is he's set to win, right? It's a state representative in Nevada, right?
Yeah, the guy, I don't know if it's a representative. I forget what it was, the office he's running for. It's something stupid. It's not a big deal. But the person he won against in the primary has won, like, the last 4 years, the last 4 terms, you know. So, yeah, he's running pretty much unopposed at this point. He's going to win. Yeah.
Okay.
And there's some talk about making brothels illegal now, too. So he's selling off a bunch of the brothels, too, as well.
Yeah, no, Hoff is a fascinating character. You know, and his connections are exceedingly bizarre. Roger Stone, Tucker Carlson. I don't know how the hell he really got connected with Scott Thorson, but I know that he was paying for him, like his bail and stuff like that. Yeah, he was like supporting him for a while.
Thorson lived at the Bunny Ranch up in Reno, or up there in Eli, something like that, up in one of those. He lived at the ranch, okay? Because I called up to the ranch. I talked to him. We were talking about Thorson all about this. You know, talk to the bunnies. I talked to the bunnies themselves. No, what do you call it? But it's interesting because but Thorson's a guy who knows a lot of secrets. He knows where bodies are buried. So does Heidi Fleiss. They've all got that same thread running through them. You know what I mean? They know where all the secrets and all the gossip and all the good stuff. And oh
yeah, that's like, I mean, the whole Wonderland murders and Eddie Nash. I mean, there's so many people. You've got also John Holmes, obviously was there and probably executed some of those people. The famous porn star, and you've interviewed his teenage girlfriend. What's her name?
I interviewed the girlfriend, Dawn, I think her name was, and
yes.
And you know how we arranged that?
Dawn Schiller.
Dawn Schiller, right? And great show, by the way, too. And funny, the way we arranged that interview is I was trying to do a show on Roy Cohn. And I was looking up Roy Cohn to find a book on Roy Cohn. Who could I find a guest about Roy Cohn? I wanted to do a really, you know, good expose on Roy Cohn. And I discovered that Holmes, Johnny Wad, used to hang out on the yacht with Roy Cohn. He used to hang out with Roy Cohn. Okay, they were buddies. So that's how I stumbled. And I thought it's an interesting story. Let me do a show about Holmes, man. You know, but yeah, I was trying to do a show on Roy Cohn, and then came up with John Holmes.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a great episode. Dawn Schiller is a wonderful storyteller. It's such an amazing, and you know, just to link it all up, you know, one of the detectives that, you know, found her and worked with her was Van Adder, of OJ. So very bizarre, you know, the sort of like connections upon connections. I don't know if you've heard it. I haven't listened to it, but I think, you know, Mark Ebner does he's got his own podcast right now. He did an episode recently on the Heidi Fleiss and these like tapes or something that were recorded at one of her brothels or something like that. So there's still something out there with Heidi Fleiss. I'm not sure what it is. And I tried to get Mark Ebner on, but he's too busy.
Yeah, I know. You can catch him. Yeah, but the thing is I'm trying. I told him I put that show on all my stations. But let's see if he does it. But what do you call it? Yeah, he's got some tapes with Heidi Fleiss. He's got a lot of stuff. Yeah, Ebner has a lot. Yeah. He's careful about what he talks about. He's got a lot of stuff, man. And I'll mention something, man. And I'll get a little note, and oh yeah, let me tell you what's going. So there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Actually. I was just this morning. I was reading an article. Somehow I got like you go on Wikipedia or something. You're looking for something. And 2 hours later, you're reading an article about some obscure person. And that the guy he plays the bad guy in The Mask. Yeah. And he was in a lot of So anyway, because I've seen him before in the East Village, and he looks horrible. This is like so off topic, but the guy is, not doing well. Drugs have taken a huge toll. And I used to see him all the time. He just was like, this emaciated, really bad. And he got busted a few years ago with for crack down on Avenue D and stuff like that. And somehow, I don't know, he popped into my mind this morning, and I was like doing other stuff, and I started reading this article about him, and because he's a really fascinating character, it's worth doing a show on. And it was just some random article that I found online, and it was really intriguing and this crazy thing. And then I read at the bottom, and it says, this is written by Mark Ebner, who was the personal assistant to so and so. I forget his last name is Green, the actor. I can't remember. So I was just reading something by Ebner. I didn't even realize it, but.
Yeah, when it came out this week that Sly Stallone is under IPD for
what?
Oh yeah.
Well, say that again, Ed. You just broke up a little bit with your connection. Say that again about Sly Stone. Oh, Ed, I can't hear you right now. You're breaking up pretty bad. What were you? Let's see if we can. Maybe I might have to just tweak my own.
On this.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit there, Ed. Well, hopefully we'll be able to fix that in the second hour. But we're getting up towards the end here. And there's one other thing because I feel like we're jumping around, but I like it. All these different things.
I'm back. Yeah. Well, all these problems are definitely on my end, so don't change anything on your end. It's definitely over here because I can see I'm losing my connection.
Okay.
But Ebner just posted an article about the APD announcing that they have a pending indictment on Stallone, and he mentioned how he had heard a tape. He found an audio tape of Stallone in his trailer getting his getting
service.
Yeah, there you go. Right. And I'm in touch. I got a whole story about Stallone. I'd love to tell one day that I'll get into someday if he dies. If everybody involved is dead, I'm dead. But I know there's hidden cameras in Stallone's house. He has hidden cameras in his ceiling.
Really?
Yeah, and I got that direct, man. Someone who witnessed it. Someone who I know is telling me the truth. So there's that, but there's other stuff too I'd love to talk about.
Wait, and what is Stallone under investigation for right now?
It's on my Facebook if people want to go, but some kind of sexual abuse charges, brand new ones.
Okay.
And states, not the 16-year-old girl in Vegas from a long time ago, which, we've seen the police reports. It seems very legit. Not the one for his half-sister where he paid off, I think it was $16 million and then paid a $16,000 a month and then paid $50,000 a year for therapy. And that... galore evidence on that one, and then there was some other ones. There were some other allegations that were so, but one when he went to the gym with, that claims that he felt her up and stuff like that. But there's a lot of really, really credible allegations against him, and now LAPD say that they're about to they admit that he's under about to be indicted.
Oh, that would be huge. If that kind of reminds me of the not that they're really in the same category, but Steven Seagal and those bizarre allegations against him.
Yeah, with the Russian. There's another one with Russian.
Yeah.
He had Russian personal assistants that he was holding as sex slaves.
Yeah.
You don't hear about that anymore. What happened to all that? Just got quiet. Because and they all have the same law, man. It's all the same lawyers in California. Marty Singer comes up every single time in these cases. And who's Marty Singer's PI? Barisi, Paul Barisi, the guy who's you know Paul Barisi is, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, and Marty Singer, he represented everybody, including I believe at one point he was Den's lawyer for a little while.
Oh,
Digital Entertainment Network.
I'm sure he was, but Cosby, Charlie Sheen, Marty Singer's always he's the guy over there, to keep things quiet, And Paul Barisi, the story Paul Barisi, he's the one who kept the whole thing quiet about what's his name, the black guy from Saturday Night Live, Eddie Murphy.
Oh yes, right.
The Eddie Murphy transvestite story.
Yes, right, of course. Well, he's just helping her out, just giving her a lift.
That's right. Beautiful Hawaiian woman. Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up towards the end, and I wanted to just bring it back briefly to Roger Stone, and then we'll cap the first hour. But have you seen the video of him loaded on InfoWars? And so Jones is just, he's almost unconscious. He's so drunk. But have you seen the video of that where Alex Jones smashes the champagne glass by accident, and Stone just looks, zonked out of his mind. Have you seen this?
No, I have not seen that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it just seemed like that's the other sort of problem with the story is that they're all supposedly I've heard these rumors that Stone, if Trump ever sells out Stone, that he would be able to get out of this because he's got dirt, because he's given drugs to him in the past, uppers and stuff like that. And wouldn't surprise me at all that these guys are all, that's the other half of this thing. They're all drinking, they're partying, it's just you see this downward spiral if you're being cornered by the FBI and then you're also just getting loaded all the time. Right. Of course you're gonna mess up and say the wrong thing and screw up and things like that. So very interesting. We'll have to see what happens. But Ed, quickly, you think Stone is going to go down on some level?
Yeah, no, don't doubt my mind at this point too. I even talked to St. John Hunt about this. He works for Stone now, and he and I have become pretty friendly off the air. And I said, hey, do you think that Stone would rat him out if they Stone did nothing wrong? Well, okay, but if they Trump charges on him, you know what I mean? If he was backwards up against the wall, would he? And he says, no, he would not. Okay, and you know what? I almost believe that Stone would go down with the ship. He's the kind of, I admire Stone. I can't, when you look at a guy that's, when you're that corrupt, it's you got to give him a little respect. He's a criminal's criminal. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And he's got the ball. You want one-on-one, man. Interview this guy one-on-one. He's going to take you.
For sure. Absolutely. I think that's what I think
anybody
he
touch
works,
him,
Yeah. I think he works better, like you said, on a one-on-one sort of thing, and kind of in the shadows. Even when Stone was, when he had a media profile, it was relegated to a few regions, New York and Southern Florida. Those were the two big things where he kind of operated. And certainly here in New York, we all knew about Roger Stone because he was working, in Albany with the governor, and he was involved in a lot of local politics and the Indian casinos and things like that, and also in Southern Florida as well. He was connected with a lot of powerful lawyers and things down there. But I don't know. There's something now when he's everywhere. I think it's too many holes to plug.
Yeah, well, he's down there with the Cubans down there in Florida too. He's the one that brought all this down to with the chairs, the hanging chairs, the one banging on the windows.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Of course.
Guys, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, certainly. Well, yeah. I guess it'll be fun to see if Stone goes down. I don't know. I think I don't know. I have a feeling that I think he will go as long as possible without hanging Trump out to dry. But I don't know. I think if push comes to shove, I think if Trump sells him out, he'll sell everybody out then at that point. You know, I mean, because what's he got left, really? Well, we are at the break right now. We will be continuing this conversation with our good friend Ed Opperman in the second hour, so please stay tuned.
Oh, yes, I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
Simply Clean Foods is dedicated to providing the best quality food you can buy next to fresh from a farmer's market. Our stringent quality controls and absolute zero GMOs plus testing for heavy metals makes us unique in the storable foods market. Our line of fruits, vegetables, and meats are suitable for everyday use, and you won't have to worry about throwing away valuable groceries ever again. Take out the amount you need and reseal the package for use within the next 6 months. Simply Clean Foods' primary focus is to bring clean food to people all around the world and change the way we look at freeze-dried food in our daily cooking. Go to simplycleanfoods.net. That's www.simplycleanfoods.net today.
American Survival Wholesale is a proud sponsor of the American Freedom Radio. And when you purchase quality products from AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com, you help support this program. Our quality non-GMO foods do not contain MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or heavy metals. At American Survival Wholesale, you can choose from over 8,000 quality products, including self-defense weapons, bug-out bags, and long-term storable food at wholesale prices. We also have custom food packs available, including gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegetarian packs. If we don't have it, you don't need it. American Survival Wholesale is a veteran-owned and operated company which also supports our veterans in need, and we are very active in disaster relief. If you would like to become a distributor, please email us at bugoutamerica@usa.com or call 818-720-0759. We offer free consultations to answer all your questions. Do it today while things are calm. That's AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. I'll give you an example of that. When I was a little kid, if I got sick, they wanted me to go to the hospital and see the doctor. Now they want me to go to a health maintenance organization. Smug, greedy, well-fed white people have invented a language to conceal their sins. It's as simple as that. The CIA doesn't kill anybody anymore. They neutralize people. The government doesn't lie. It engages in disinformation. Israeli murderers are called commandos. Arab commandos are called terrorists. Contra killers are called freedom fighters. Well, if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight? They never mention that part of it to us, do they? Never mention that part of it.
You're listening to AmericanFreedomRadio.com, the network who perseveres in delivering intelligent debate, constructive dialogue with true independence. The freedom to broadcast the truth is not free at all. So what is American Freedom Radio worth to you? The empowering information with fun, honest and pure integrity behind it provides an example to follow. Friendships to flourish with the moral altruism that pulls no punches. The hosts sacrifice and show remarkable discipline in their duty to deliver quality radio in service to the community with strength, wisdom, and loyalty. The founders of AFR wish to thank you personally for sharing your views and insights to make the best radio and alternative media. Now it's time for you to give something back and play a vital role in the future of America. Be as generous with us as we've been with you. Click on the donate banner at AmericanFreedomRadio.com or volunteer by emailing AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Vaccine, psychotropic drugs, and artillery batteries not included.
Launch sequence initiated. We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good. Lead control out. Here's control is good. 5. Rocket copy. 3. 2. 1. Okay.
Prepare your mind to experience American Freedom Radio. Porkins Policy Radio, offering a unique perspective on everything: geopolitics, culture creation, the reality of the world we live in. Coming to you live from New York City, your host, Pierce Redmond.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Porkins Policy Radio. I am your host, Pierce Redmond. I am joined by a good friend of the show, Ed Opperman. The Opperman Report is his radio show. You can find all that at OppermanReport.com. You can also go to emailrevealer.com, which is the site where you can go if you're looking for... Well, Ed, why don't you describe a little bit, because you've got it down better than me. What is emailrevealer.com if the listeners out there are interested?
Well, if you need like a name and address from a phone number, or you need to locate somebody, it's one of those asset searches, adoption investigations, but also too, if you think your wife is cheating on you, your husband's cheating, you give us their email address, and we trace it back to online dating websites and personal ads. We catch them cheating online. A lot of stuff over there, and digital forensics, all kind of fun stuff at emailrevealer.com.
Yeah, because I'm assuming everyone out there knows, but Ed is a private investigator as well, so all that kind of stuff. Definitely, Ed would be my first phone call if I had to do anything like that. In the first hour, Ed, we were jumping around, covering a lot of interesting topics, but it's a bit more lighthearted. You're getting into some good political gossip and stuff. We had Roger Stone, Scott Thorson, Heidi Fleiss, but I thought we'd switch it up a little bit for the second hour here and talk about something that's certainly very current. I was unfortunately reading about it this morning when I was making coffee. But that's these detention centers. I mean, I know that there are other euphemisms that the MAGA Trump supporters would prefer us to use, but these are like immigration detention centers. I think that's a totally apt descriptive word for them. And I mean, these are just truly abhorrent in every sort of sense of the word, that separating children from their families. And Ed, I want to get your perspective and your take on this, but more importantly, the way that the Trump MAGA, red pill, whatever, these supporters of his acolytes in the media. Laura Ingraham was just going on and on about this recently. It was just disgusting. But it's like the way that they're basically saying that it's not that bad. It's like summer camp. The kids love it. It's totally fine. Laura Ingraham described this as one of them looked like a boarding school. So they either describe it as it's all wonderful, but at the same time they're upfront in their belief that, well, this is a deterrent. It's supposed to be bad. So that, again, or that it's, well, Obama started it, so it's his fault. Yeah. So they kind of want it both ways. And I don't know, I mean, what do you make of all of this? Because it just seems morally so reprehensible that we would be separating families. And even if we weren't separating them, it's not as if they're being treated nice, I mean, this is not the Four Seasons. These are metal cages. So, I mean, what do you make of this, Ed?
Well, I see right where you're going with this, you know, and the thread you're weaving through here is exactly my thinking here as well. Now, I'm 55 years old, you know. I'm going to be 56 in September. And I'm thinking back in my life, you know, back in the 70s and stuff like that, you know, when I was a real serious activist, you know, and all the fears I had of our oppressive government was turning into. The idea that we would have an expression called kids in cages, those kids being held in the cages, and that everyone you talk to would know right away what you're talking about. Yeah, those kids in the cages. Yeah, well, you know what? I'm against that. Or the kids in the cages. We're holding right now kids, at least a couple of thousand of them, in cages. No doubt about this, because the government released videos of this to show us what their side of this was. There exist today kids in cages. We know where they are. And we have become so apathetic in our lives and so hardened, and what the hell has come to us that we're not over there right now with torches and bolt cutters rescuing the kids in the cages. All this stuff about Pizzagate and Comet Ping Pong Pizza and Hillary and there you go, holding kids, there's kids being held captive. We know damn well for a fact they admit to our faces that they're holding kids in cages right now, and we sit back and do nothing. Yeah, I don't even know. Well, I don't know if I can live on the same planet that I grew up on.
No. Well, and it's you know, you brought up the Pizzagate thing, and you know, they'll use that too. They'll say that, oh well, you know, these are criminals that are trafficking people. You know, they keep talking about human trafficking as if it's like that's something that like these kids are what, that those aren't their real parents, and they're, you know, it's like if that were true, okay, fine. I mean, that's horrible. Like, we know, like you said, we know there's like 2,000 kids being held. Well, you know, let's just say for argument's sake that it's all true, that they're of human trafficking. I still can't, but we're still sending these kids back to Honduras or Guatemala or wherever they come from. I mean, like, that's the other thing too. It's just like they throw out these things like human trafficking. They just say it, you know?
MS-13.
Right.
Well, I don't know if you caught Trump's speech today, you know, but he was trying to, first of all, he's trying to play it down. Well, we're not mistreating these kids, and I don't want to see kids in cages. You know, kids in cages. But then let me tell you about how evil these Mexicans are, and these MS-13, they're rapists, dealing drugs, they're doing this and then they come here, they sneak in, and they're all shifty, you know, and they're all lying on their things, and some of them aren't even really their kids, and they're renting kids. But, you know, and you're right, man. You're right. Listen, if these gullible Trump con victims, you know, who have fallen for this con and just love the man and worship him for what he could do no wrong, will come up with every kind of crazy excuse. Well, they shouldn't be sneaking into the country when they're not. Half of these people are surrendering, trying to get asylum, and then they immediately get arrested. They're being detained. This is a new policy. They're detaining them, and then their kids become abandoned kids. They have to be taken into custody. So they're lying about what's really happening, and right in our faces, and we're letting them do it. And there's so many gullibles out there that just aren't paying that close attention, and they believe the lies, and everything's fake. You know, well, you believe that fake media, you know, the fake news. Well, the government released those videos, you know. So then the government's releasing fake news, and you know what, Pierce, I'm getting worried, man, that there's so much white noise and there's so much static, just like our phone connection, that our attempts to try and bring people truth and news is just worthless at this point. There's just so much white noise, and this whole thing too with this in Tucson with the rape trees and the pedo.
Yeah. Talk about that, because this is like another one of these idiotic, completely bogus stories. You know, there's nothing to it. And I saw, you know, all the usual suspects, Mike Cernovich and others, you know, tweeting. It wasn't even the Daily Mail that reported it. You know, it was like the Express, which is like even crappier than the Daily Mail. You know, and that's the source that they're all using. I mean, talk about that, because that's like a perfect example of this like weird, like you said, this white noise, this echo chamber, where again there is reality in front of you, and then there's what these conned, gullible, naive people believe. I mean, talk about this Tucson story quickly.
Well, I did a whole show on it, but it's interesting because you and we had spoken about George Webb a while, and I had never name on the air before that conversation you and I had, and and the reason why I brought up his name that time is because we were talking about how the rollout of George Webb, sending these messages on Facebook, hey, we got to make this go viral, and I said that this is weird, this is suspicious. There's some, who are these people? Why are they friending me? Why are they contacting me? They know I have a radio show, and they're trying to get me to promote some character that I never heard of. Who is he? That's not even his real name. And the same thing happened with this pedo camp in Tucson, Arizona, where I started getting these bizarre messages from new people I've never met before who knew I had a radio show, but now suddenly it's the most important thing, and I listen to them. I block them. They contact me through other messages. Second people contact me with the same wording, and also this kind of thread like we're all in this together. Like I'm working for the same people they're working for. Hey, we need to get this job done, Ed. It's hairs in the back of my neck stick up. There's something behind it. There's nothing to this story, and right away they bring in Soros and Hillary. There's a connection to the Clinton Foundation. Like the Clintons and Soros need to bury a septic tank in the dirt in order to rape a kid. They can't, they can't rent the Waldorf for do it there, or rent an apartment or a van at least, or a Winnebago. You need a pedo. Yeah. But the thing is, what I found out, I did a whole show about this ridiculing pedo camps and rape trees. It turns out there's a whole thing with these rape trees. This isn't something new. First time I heard it, but I looked into it. And these Border Patrol, these vigilantes on the border, these Minutemen and stuff like that, have been talking about these rape trees for years. And they've created a whole myth around these rape trees that these things exist. It's been exposed that it's just crazy nonsense from these right-wing nuts. But even if you look at the videos of these rape trees, these ligatures fashioned to the trees, it's to hold up poles, okay? Now, I'm actually in touch with some people who lived at that camp, okay? I found some people who lived at the pedo camp, okay? A man and a woman. They're kind of difficult to keep in touch with because they're homeless still. They're doing a little bit better, but they lived at that specific camp, and they told those people down there that there's no pedophilia going on. There's a man and a woman, too, and white. They're white. They're not MS-13 either. Trump supporters. Okay, the guy who says he lived at the camp is a Trump supporter. Okay, so, but you're right, man. It's the same cast of characters, these Cernoviches and stuff like that. And then they, at the same time, June 11th, they post this DOJ press release about 2,300 pedophiles arrested, and they declare that it's a pedophile ring, 2,300 members of a pedophile ring, and it was a 3-month undercover sting investigation. And even I actually called the operations, the information officer, but I read even if you just read the press release, okay, if you don't bother to do any follow-up, you just read the press release. It says right in there that they had 2,500 internet complaints. They followed up on them, and they found 2,300 they could make arrests. So this is ex-wives and stuff like that, ex-girlfriends turning in their boyfriends. They found pornography on their computers. That's what those complaints, those internet complaints that people make all day long. That's what they're low.
Right. This isn't an organized ring trading images or people. This is, like you said, this is 2,000 complaints.
25,000 complaints that they followed up on, and they found 2,300 people they could make arrests on, and they identified 300 kids in danger, which usually means the guy was living with a girlfriend, and she had a kid who was in danger. But none of this Clinton Foundation, George Soros kind of stuff.
Right. Well, exactly. But again, like this supposed camp in Tucson, and let's also preface this too, because you mentioned it when you talked about it when you did the show on it. We're supposed to think that this is credible because, again, one of these right-wing vigilantes who discovered it, he's a veteran. You know, I'm not trying to disparage veterans, but what does that mean? What does that actually have to do with this? That because he served in Afghanistan, he's an expert on child abuse?
Well, it turns out he's not a veteran. That guy's not even a veteran. That guy, Lewis Arthur, is not even a veteran.
Great.
His father's a veteran and his brother's a veteran. He's not a veteran. He talks in that veteran lingo that imaginary lingo that people think veterans talk in. And he's connected up to Bundy Ranch. He's connected to Santilli. He's all mixed up and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's up to his neck and all that stuff. He puts on all these stunts all the time where he climbs up the flagpole and he gets arrested to draw attention to veteran suicides and stuff. This guy's involved in one stunt after another. He claimed that there was a body buried there. They did, we discovered a body buried, and they went out with the dogs, nothing there. But also, too, that head that they found, that's 20 miles away. And then if you read the official report on that, the police department saying that head was planted there, that head was placed there. Yeah, so, man, this guy's up to his neck in shenanigans, and his veterans on patrol. But you're right, man, veterans, look right away. Jeez.
I mean, my dad's a veteran, but, he doesn't go around screaming about it, and it doesn't make him qualified to do, it's not like his opinion should matter more because he's a veteran,
But
who cares, honestly?
Because they're heroes.
Right.
It's all imagery in your head that they plant in your head. They're heroes. Just like Ronald Reagan, man, got away with this with the cowboy hat and the mom and the apple pie. It was a textbook, cartoonery.
Or John Wayne.
Yeah.
Never served a day in his life.
Right.
And would attack other people. He attacked Van Johnson. For not serving, even though he wasn't serving either. And Van Johnson actually had a legitimate reason. He had a metal plate in his head, which restricted him from joining during World War II. So Van Johnson, like John Wayne, made, propaganda films in Hollywood and stuff like that. But Van Johnson actually had a real reason. John Wayne was just a baby, He didn't want to serve because he was afraid. Back to specifically back to these detention centers and things, and the other thing that I find really just kind of like beyond the political level or even the optics, because you're even seeing a lot of Trump, Scaramucci, the mooch is saying optically this is just a bad policy, like nobody likes this, but then you see Sessions and others quoting from this Bible verse. I believe it's John, or no, it's a letter to the Romans or something like that.
Paul, not the Gospel of Paul, but it's a letter Paul wrote.
Okay. I mean, this one to me is just this is apparently one line in the Bible has been used by countless people in their own interpretation to justify everything from slavery to apartheid. But even more so, these are supposed to be the conservatives, right? These are the real small government conservatives. Jeff Sessions, Mr. States' Rights. He's saying that he's using a Bible verse to say love the government, and even so. As these people are supposed to be Christians, and they're all for terrorizing children and families. I mean, this to me was just I can't fathom it, Ed. And they are once again conning a lot of evangelicals and other people into buying into that nonsense. And I don't know. I just want to get your take on this because I know you are a religious person, Ed, and I just I can't imagine this.
Well, yeah, it's a perversion of Christianity,
Yeah.
But then again, so is the aversion to feeding the poor. They've
right.
Something new with these right-wing so-called Christians.
Right. Yeah.
That's Jesus said, "Depart from me, I don't know you." Well, how come you know me? And I said, "Well, no. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was in jail, you didn't visit me. I don't know you." You know what I mean? So, and that's what a lot of these guys are going to hear that, man. When Judgment Day comes, I'm not going to pass judgment. I don't have to. These guys are in trouble. I got to worry about myself. Every man for himself on Judgment Day.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it comes to these guys.
Yeah. Listen, and even Trump's speech today, where first he says, "Oh, these poor kids, and nobody wants to see that." Then he's making jokes 2 seconds later, and everybody's just chuckling. It's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I can never forget this because I've walked out of so many jails and so many prisons after just visiting a prisoner. And let me tell you, you're in there, and you're kind of in the same conditions there. It's hot, it's dirty, it's filthy, and the guards treat you like crap when you're going in there and you sign stuff. The whole thing's a nightmare. And right now, those kids are sitting there right now as we talk, and that's reality. They can't, and they got those plastic, metal, aluminum blankets. They can't even give them real blankets.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking, and you hear these kids crying, "Oh, I know my aunt's phone number. Can you call my aunt?" These kids don't understand, and they're suffering right now as we talk, as we joke, right this minute, and every minute that goes by that we don't rescue them, we're all accountable. We're all going to be held to judgment for the way we live now and what we tolerate and put up with, because it's insanity. What the conditions we live under are worse than intolerable. It's insanity. I was talking to a friend of mine from New York, and we were talking about the old Baader-Meinhof gang, and the Red Army and stuff like and how that whole thing started because when the Shah of Iran visited Germany, that the students protested and they got into a fight with the
police and the federal cops got involved
and the whole country, ultimately, the whole West Germany, like 30% of the country supported this revolutionary movement because they were so outraged at the police action. Where is the outrage now for what we see going on every day? That in Flint, Michigan, they have no water. Then in Puerto Rico, they have no electricity. Where is the outrage anymore? There's nothing. How much of our population is incarcerated right now? More than any country on the planet.
Well, you just said Puerto Rico. When everything is going to be said and done, when the final tallies come in, they're predicting easily 6,000 people are going to be dead. That's more than Katrina and 9/11 combined. Okay, and what did Trump do? He was doing, shooting toilet paper like a basketball to people, bragging that, only 60 people died. I mean, it's 6,000 people. I mean, right now the count is like around 2,000 easily, and there still isn't running water in some of these places. I mean, it's absolutely insane. There's like no respect. I said this recently, and I said like, oh, I'm gonna sound like some right winger, but I mean the sanctity of life. Yeah. I mean, do we not really? Fine, maybe that makes you sound crazy, but like, we don't respect human life anymore. It's really kind of shocking.
Why isn't the president of the United States down there at this with the kids in the cages, Walmart? At the very wouldn't you say, whoa, hold on here, I've got to stop everything I'm doing and go down there and see for myself what the hell is going on. And but no, and this has become acceptable. And the thing is too, and you're right, man, we've become so desensitized about the sanctity of human life that the homeless situation is so bad. You step over a homeless guy to get into Starbucks to buy your $5 cup of coffee,
and then you get thrown out if you're black.
Yeah, that's a whole.
You get arrested.
and here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, all the time we have tourists come here. They go hiking out at Red Rock and they get stranded up on some mountain, and they go and rescue them with a helicopter and all this kind of stuff. Oh, we rescued a missing hiker. Well, what about I can step over 20 guys dying in the street on my way to the doctor.
I know.
Yeah, and these characters, man, again, these 4chan and this whole bizarre group of incels, involuntary celibates, and then this the suicidal pedophile who's running for Congress over there, like this weird subculture that they call us normies, that the people who aren't into their obsessive conspiracy theory, I hate to call it conspiracy, but they're obsessive fantasies of all these things going on, and Trump is going to rescue everybody. They're all Trump supporters. Hey, man, this pedophile guy that's running for Congress and who ran the suicidal pedophile group, that guy's a Trump supporter. These incels, they're all freaking Trump supporters. And who tipped me? How did I even find out about these guys? Through QAnon. QAnon was talking about the incels. That's how I heard about it. I never heard about it before. But we're the normies, and they have to hold our hand when the OIG report comes out and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And lately they're telling us, now I just caught this the other day. They called them, they're talking about the deep state all the time. I remember you had a heart attack when you started hearing them using the deep state. Now it's like second. Now they're calling it the deep state left. That the deep state are leftists. The deep state.
No, I know. Ed, I hear this all the time. They refer to the most mainstream Democratic politics as hard left. The real hard lefties like Dianne Feinstein and other. I'm like, what? What world are you living on?
The hard left.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I mean, it's like, then. I mean, who is Maduro? I mean, Maduro must be. He doesn't even. He can't even possibly exist on their spectrum.
No, that's the Marxist-Leninists, but they'll even call like Obama Marxist-Leninists,
Yeah.
It's just the most bizarre thing, and there's no comprehension. I got a guy coming on too. He wrote a book called "Socialism Sucks." Man, I'm going to take care of this guy. But the thing is too, if you listen to now, because I listen to all these right-wing guys on the radio, and if you listen to him, like Rush Limbaugh today, he's saying, "Oh, and the liberals are all upset, and these leftists are all so upset." So they're happy to watch these kids in cages as long as they know that it's upsetting non-Trump supporters and people who see through Trump. As long as they're upsetting us, they're happy. That's good, And this is the scariest thing I've seen in my life. I don't even know what the hell to do anymore.
No, they're openly advocating child abuse.
Yeah.
It's like they are fine with abusing children, like you said, as long as it hurts the so-called leftists, out there. I mean, it's so cynical and nasty. And let me just say too, what the hell happened to the traditional conservative, maybe libertarian, patriot movement people that were not just complete whack jobs, that were warning against things like what we're seeing right now. We're using these internment camps, for illegal aliens, or all of these nasty terms that they use for people that are just looking for a better life, in large part because we as America, the U.S. government screwed up their own countries. So once we stop screwing up their, using Wall Street as a form of economic warfare against these countries, and we stop funding death squads and, helping with the cocaine trade, then these people will stop fleeing and trying to come to America. But you think that all of a sudden ICE, DHS and stuff, they're going to stop with these No, now they've got all these internment camps. They're going to have to keep using them. This is what those the sort of traditional right-wing patriot movement, libertarian conservatives were rightfully warning us against. I mean, soon, now it's the Mexicans. Tomorrow it's going to be us. You know what I mean? Like they're preparing. They now have the infrastructure to actually set up FEMA camps. I mean, that's the other thing that I find so shocking, is that they don't see this as what happens if the Democrats get in control of this.
Well, you know what, too, man? I was thinking about this, too. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I was thinking about this, too, that all these people who aren't standing up to Trump, these mainstream, conservative people like Romney and stuff like that, history is going to judge. Listen, if what should happen happens. Trump and his whole crew, they're going to be indicted and be under the prison. These guys again, but they must have some mountain of dirt on these guys. So history is going to judge all these people who kissed his butt, watching this go down. So they have to control history. They can't allow that to happen, which is why they have to say that the FBI is all corrupt and part of the deep state left, that all these Republicans who run the FBI are the left.
Yeah, I know.
The Black Panthers took over the FBI. You know what I mean? From inside. It's just the craziest stuff in the world. And I don't even, everything, black is white, the world's upside down, red is wrong. It's just everything is turned around from logic, and no one's even trying to be logical anymore. It's just, we're pissing off those liberals, those libtards,
Yeah, exactly. As long as we're doing that, it doesn't matter if we're traumatizing 2,000 children.
I'd say it breaks my heart, man, because I raised a kid, and they don't understand, they don't understand what's going on, and if there's like that many of them in one group, and they don't see I can only imagine the terror in these little kids. It's just heartbreaking. And one of the guys, the guy who worked there, was saying too that the people that they have working there are illegal aliens working there.
I think I've seen a few little reports and bits and pieces that there's a lot of people within, because now there are those federal centers that they've got set up, and like you said, there's one in an old Walmart, You know, and they're basically feeding all these kids from the McDonald's within the Walmart. It's like so disgusting. But they're also transferring a ton. They are rounding up so many immigrants, you know, so many migrants, whatever word you want to use, that they're also offloading a lot of them into the regular prison system here. And a lot of the prison correction unions are just they hate this because they were not trained for this. You know what I mean? The corrections guards in most prisons, they don't speak Spanish. They don't know how to handle this. There's too many people. You know, it's like it's getting out of hand. Even they're upset about this. You know, and I would assume a lot of these people, you know, I don't know why you would ever join ICE or, you know, DHS or something like that, but I'm sure it wasn't to traumatize children and separate them. I mean, it's horrible. You hear these horses, that poor father who hung himself in a prison in the cell because he never thought he was going to see his son again.
Yeah, you know, and even, you know, entering the country on the first offense is a misdemeanor. You can't even do a year in jail for it. And also too, you know, I live here in Nevada. You know, these are my neighbors, man. You know,
yeah.
These are literally people who live within walking distance. You know, I could throw a spit out my door and hit someone. You know, these aren't enemies. They're not all gang members. This isn't people to be afraid of. Like, but they just got this hysteria of fear and stuff. And I don't even understand it. I don't even understand what the fear is. And it's the root of it, I guess, is just racism, you know. And
no, I know what you mean, and I think that, you know, of course, my perspective is going to be skewed, having grown up in New York my whole life. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's just like, what are you actually afraid? First off, do you know who cooks your food? They're all illegal. Okay. That's just, you know, if we deported, you know, all of the evil El Salvadorian, you know, MS-13 gang members that Trump claims, there would be no one to cook anywhere in New York City or anywhere else.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, every restaurant. Yeah. I
mean, and come on, Donald Trump never hired illegal immigrants in his casinos and hotels. I doubt that, very much so. You know, I mean, we know about when he was hiring all those illegal Polish guys, you know, and they were all dying because there are no OSHA, you know, or they were paying off all the OSHA inspectors in some of his big buildings. But no, it's just beyond that. It's just, do you not have the slightest bit of human decency? And also, show me where these, you know, this is the thing I love too, when they're always talking about the MS-13 gang members, they always show the pictures where they're covered head to toe in tattoos. Right. Where the hell are those guys? You know what I mean? Like, where are those guys with like their you know, fake kids?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah. It's just insanity. Well, they're renting kids. They rent these kids.
Yeah. Well, no, all the kids are crisis actors, you know?
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's another one, too, that these kids are actors. They're acting. Ann Coulter said that last night.
I know. Yeah. No, it's like, and you know, it's like fairly mainstream people. You know, they're acting. I mean, what planet are you from?
Ann Coulter, that used to party on Adnan Khashoggi's yacht. Adnan Khashoggi was a human trafficker. He admitted it at one point. Okay, you know, it's just unbelievable, man. It's just unbelievable. But the thing is, what do? We got to do something. Like I was telling my friend, we were talking about the Beider Meinhof and the RF, and it says, you know, back then they used to have to hijack a plane to draw attention to these things. Now everybody knows. You don't need to draw attention to these things. Everybody knows. Nobody does anything. Nobody cares. Like, flip the channel and watch something else. You know, I'm sick of hearing about the kids in the cages. Well, the kids are still in the cages. And you know what? Those kids are going to be, unless something dramatic happens, a month from now, 2 months from now, those kids are still going to be in those damn cages, and we're going to be on to a new topic. You know, Stormy Daniels or a new poker will come forward. You know, and it'll be a whole new thing if this one doesn't work.
Oh, I mean, I feel like it's already happening. I mean, it's a big story right now, but the way that the administration is doubling down on all of this, you know, I mean, they're not even. We'll look into this. I mean, what's her name? Kristen Nielsen, the head of DHS. I mean, she sounds even more psychotic when it comes to all this stuff. You know, this is a good thing. Where, you know, it's meant to be a deterrent. You know, I hope those bad parents learn their lesson. Again, this is supposed to be the party of family values and good morals and stuff. I mean, give me a break. Not that the Democrats are any better.
But another thing too is by putting these kids through this trauma. I just had a guy on about the trauma and child abuse. Dr. Collins, I think his name was. And by putting these kids through this trauma, it's going to turn them into, some of these kids are going to turn into sociopaths, because of this trauma that they're putting through. This is extreme trauma for a little 2-year-old or 5-year-old to be taken away, their parents taken away, and they're calling for their parents. They don't know where their parents are. That's the worst you could do to a little kid. And then they see that, well, okay, my situation's desperate, but every kid around me, there's another 100 kids in a room in the same situation. Then now you're hopeless, That's one of the biggest fears kids have if, hey, no one is in charge. What's going on around me? There's nobody in charge. Yeah. That's their
biggest. No adult.
Right.
No, and this retort like, oh, well, but it's nice. It's clean beds. I mean, it doesn't matter. Even if they were in the Plaza Hotel, they're separated from their parents. Nobody speaks, no one may speak Spanish. They don't know what's going on. It's not like they don't have a lawyer coming in. Okay, I'm your advocate. I'm going to get you through this. Don't worry. Blah blah blah. Visitation. No, it's nothing. It doesn't matter if they're in a mansion. They're still being psychologically abused. I don't know. I mean, I know we probably sound like we're just sort of yelling, about this, but it's just, like you said, Ed, I don't know what to do anymore.
And our whole immigration system, though, is a mess anyway, because they were I come into contact with people like in the false documents business. I've come into contact with these kind of people. I'm aware of what they're doing and what goes on with that kind of stuff. And even people who want to do the right thing, they're in this country illegally, but they want to do the right thing. They don't know where to go, how to do it. Do I have to hire a lawyer? There's no procedure for these people to assimilate into the system and get their driver's licenses and get buy their auto insurance. Some of them are doing good. They're making good money, and they want to. And also too, all the stuff about MS-13. Most of these people are really super humble people, man. They're not out causing trouble. These are really decent people, man. But we're creating monsters. And by the way, everyone's saying, "Where's all the girls? Where are all the little girls? We only see little boys. What's going on with that?"
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I know it's strange. Well, and again, too, I'm sure there'll be some conspiracy. Oh, well, they're all being, sent away somewhere. Or it's all, they're all using the little boys to molest and stuff. Again, even if that was true, if these children are being trafficked, okay, let's say that's all true, separating them and throwing them in cages where they don't know anybody, there's no one to help them, how is that going to solve their problem? It's not. Again, because that's not the case. That's not true. You just mentioned too, Ed, there's a lot of people out there that are trying to do the right thing. There's a case ongoing right now here in New York City. This guy Pablo Villavicencio, I believe is his name. He's from a Central American guy. He and his wife entered here illegally many years ago. They had a kid. They're well adjusted. They're part of the community. They go to PTA meetings. This guy speaks English. He was literally in the process of getting his green. He was doing everything the way he was supposed to do. Now, yes, he entered whatever, but he was going through the process. He was going to get a green card. He had one of the here in New York we have this city ID. And one of the big selling points for people getting the New York City ID is that it can be used as a form of identification if something happens. So again, if you're an illegal immigrant, you're not going to be able to get a driver's license easily, but you can get this city ID. So if you get stopped, you have some form of identification on you. Okay? This guy had that. New York is this, sanctuary city. You're not, you're supposed to be relatively safe. He works as a pizza delivery guy. He made a delivery to the Army garrison at Fort Hamilton. One that he had made a million times before. You know, everybody at the base knew this guy, okay? And, you know, you get this one soldier with a stick up his ass about, you know, immigrants and whatnot. He starts asking this guy all these questions about his, you know, legality. I want to see your papers, blah, blah, blah. Then they detain him there on the base. And now he's being held in, I think it's in Elizabeth, New Jersey, in the immigration center. They might deport him back to Central America.
And the pizza's getting cold.
Yeah, I know, right, exactly. Well, yeah, no, exactly. And, you know, I mean, again, it's you know, and now I'm sure the white guy who owns the pizza place, now he's lost someone, you know, he's lost an employee, he's got to find someone else. I mean, there's a whole chain of events. And again, this guy, so totally normal, never broke the law. Yeah. He did everything he was supposed to. He's getting his green card, member of society. He's going to start paying taxes. I mean, what, you know, what does it matter? The guy's delivering pizzas.
Well, one of the big roundups was they rounded up people that were working at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
You know, you go in to get your coffee every morning. No one's in danger. You know, the guy behind
yeah, exactly.
MS-13 undercover. You know, this is insane. You're like, what's the beef here? But I tell you, these people of that mindset who just they have this hatred now for illegal immigrants, quote unquote. You know, and they have a vision in their head of this danger from the people who live right next door to them and fix their car and stuff. You know, it's craziness. You know, but the thing is too, like I was saying, is people who want to get car insurance. You know, they want to get car insurance, but they don't have the right paperwork. They can't buy a car and get car insurance. Yeah. So, and there's nowhere to go into the system. So they have to go to these illegal paperwork guys who are selling all the phony documents. In order, that's who they go to for help because there's no system. You know, and then they were even saying on TV that some of these people who have these ankle bracelets on are saying, "Why do I have this ankle bracelet on? No one told me. No one explained to me what's going on." You know, it's just chaos, man. It's just
if they continue doing if they continue these policies at the border, what's going to happen? These people are going to go to some truly nasty individuals. Okay, real human smugglers, coyotes, okay? And, you know, they're going to be, you know, like, that's what happens. Then suddenly it's like, sure, I'll get you and your family to cross the border, but, you know, I want you to swallow 20 balloons of heroin as well, okay? Or you're going to owe me $20,000. Well, I can't pay that. Well, fine, don't worry. I've got someone over there who works in some other illegal business. You're going to work for him, you know, or your wife is going to have to work in a brothel until she pays off her debts. I mean, that's the other, you know, it's again, they are going to create more crime. They're going to empower the, you know, people smugglers and, you know, drug cartels and stuff that will prey on people who want a better life and use them, you know, to essentially foster more crime. I mean, that's the other thing that just sort of drives me insane. They're so terrified of all of this, but you know, if you criminalize this to such an extent, then there's no other way for them to go other than the black market. You know, to really nefarious people. Again, too, as if it's like a fun trip going from El Salvador all the way up, trying to cross into Texas. You know, it's not like a vacation.
You know, it's funny you mentioned criminalizing immigration. You know, our solution to everything is incarceration. The opiate, and if it's something like the three was thrown at me the other day was opiate deaths, auto deaths, and suicides. And I says, well, you know what? You're right. Opiate deaths, we deal with it with incarceration, and the drunk driving, the whole drunk driving industry. You know. With that incarceration, but suicides, well, we can't put them in jail, so let's ignore it. We won't do anything. You know, our only solution in this country is incarceration to every problem that comes up. That's it. You pass laws. How can we put them in jail? You know. Yeah. And
or you don't have it. If you call someone, if I called the police and I said, you know, oh my God, my friend Ed, I think he's going to hurt himself.
Oh, yeah.
They come in guns drawn. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Because you might be a threat to officers.
Officer safety, man. It's an excuse for everything, yeah. And not only that, too, but if you were to call up and say, hey, I think my friend Ed is suicidal, they're going to run you for warrants. Here's right. See, maybe we can pick one up.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? If you call to report a crime, they're going to run you for warrants, man. And if you have someone with a similar name, like Pierce has a common name, the common birth date, man, they're going to, well, let's bring them in anyway and see, hold them for a while and see if it's him. So, this is, man, we live in a crazy, I'm Pierce, maybe it's time to leave, man, get out of here,
I know what you mean. It's just this, like, militarized police state, more and more. And of course, it's the, right now the Trump people are just so blind to this. They are allowing for all of this sort of stuff to really kind of come into place right now. I mean, listen, it's only a matter of time before we get, more of these like prison contractors coming out and saying, well, I'll build some new, we need to house more children. So let's build some more detention facilities. We'll get to this, and we get the cement company is in on it, and the company that makes barbed wire, and we need a nice private contractors to, that we can source out for ICE and DHS. I mean, it's insane. And then suddenly you have all of these detention facilities everywhere. You don't think they're never going to be used for something else? I mean, come on, they're so naive. I don't know. It's just, it's insane. And maybe to lighten it up a little bit, in Trump's wisdom, he has decided that once again space is the final frontier, and he has to create the sixth branch of the Pentagon, the Space Force. Ed, any thoughts on Space Force? Are you going to sign up? Are you excited for this?
Actually, I'm not allowed to talk about this.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding. No, I can't. The Space Force. My God. Maybe the Space Force, right? They can teleport, over to like Flint, Michigan, and fix the pipes, lay some pipes down there, or fly over Puerto Rico and do a beam down and turn all the electricity on. It's just.
Well, again, can you imagine if Obama, in the middle of all of these crises, was I'm gonna create the Space Force? We'd never hear the end of it.
Why can't we just build a wall in space? We don't have to worry about the Martians.
Well, that's the best thing. We can't even get the damn wall down at on the southern border. So, but he's gonna create the Death Star. Also, he just again, I love this. Trump is we're gonna save a lot of money. We're gonna save a ton of money. We're not gonna do the war games in Korea and all these military exercises. It's a big waste, And again, when he said that, what he also said that nobody else wanted to pick up on is the Koreans need to pay for more of it. So again, he's not really in favor of ceasing military exercises. He just wants the South Koreans to pay more, but. Do you know how he's going to blow all of our budget on building, Star Wars?
Yeah, it's a shame because, if we could just allocate the money correctly, man, we could all be living decent lives. And how we allow this is just beyond me. We just went through an election here in Nevada, and we just supported Amy Villela. For Congress, a really good woman, man, like a legit person, a really good, we chose the right candidate, a sincere woman who's for real, and got sold out in many ways, and things we're not talking about yet. The Democratic Party put up a candidate that they know is going to lose, because he lost already to the guy he's up against. They put up a loser to lose against the guy he's lost up to before. So they're all in the game together, and
yeah.
Oh my God, there's just so much I could say, because
no, it really seems more and more, Ed, like this losing battle.
Yeah.
Like you said right there, I mean, they're putting up people they know are going to lose. I mean, that's just the whole. Listen, I was not a big fan of Bernie Sanders, but these people that are still attacking him, and it's like, well, look what happened when you put up Hillary. You know, I mean, you brought this upon yourself. You know, I mean, stop attacking him. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, look what we wound up with. You know, our worst nightmare. And you know, just think, man. Even when Trump was running for president, you know, we would all laugh and say, "Ha ha ha! What are they going to do? Round up all these? They're going to round them up? What, going to put them in cages? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. Evidently, yeah, that's totally what's happening.
You know, these are simple-minded people with simple plans, man. The wall, round them up, put them in cages, you know, and go, okay, look, yes, sir, we're on it, we're right on it, you know. Man, we're in trouble.
Well, just wait. It's going to be like, you know, he keeps saying, oh, we can't turn into Europe. We're going to turn into Europe when we start seeing these, you know, boats out in the Caribbean with 500 people on them, and they capsize. And we got 500 dead bodies washing up on Miami Beach.
No, Cuba. All you have to do is land your foot on the sand, and you're an American.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. Well.
You know, but next, you know, listen.
No, I mean, well, that's the richest thing too. Is you know, like you said, if you're Cuban, you know, I mean, the ground you walk on is blessed. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to disparage Cubans at all. But you know, it's interesting seeing the same thing. I mean, I'm sure if I don't know, war broke out between Finland and Norway, and a lot of Finns or Norwegians were you know, coming to America, we'd have no problem with that. You know, we always find the sort of favored status. Anyway, we're coming up towards the end, Ed. Is there anything you want to leave the listeners with? Anything I didn't give you a chance to mention? I know I kept kind of talking over you, so I'll give you the rest of the floor here, Ed.
You know, man, I don't even know what's left to say anymore. We all know that the conditions we live under are intolerable. You know, and they're only getting worse. They're not getting better. And I don't even know if we can reach out to these Trump people anymore, or because the conditioning. I think, you know what, I would tell people, stop eating meat. I think if you stop eating meat, it really detoxifies your body, and you kind of see things a little clearer. You know, you get a little more patient with people. We can't sit back and continue down the road we are now. Either we got to get out of here, you know, and leave it to them, you know, or we got to start capturing some ground, you know, where we control the local government, you know, or maybe we could all move to one area, you know, and really get serious about this, because things are getting serious. They have little kids in cages, so the joke's over. You know, and before you know it, it's going to be you and me in those cages if we don't get it right together and stop fighting amongst ourselves. The left needs to stop fighting amongst ourselves. Is a big deal too. So I'll leave you with that.
No, yeah, I agree with you, Ed, and I just to echo the you know, we'll be in those cages too. I think that listen, like you said, what's he going to do? Round them all up? Yeah. I mean, you know, so if he's willing to go. If the administration is willing to go that far, I would not be surprised about you know, the levels to which the administration is willing to go against any person or persons that they no longer like or deem necessary or something. I mean, yeah, it's really, I think the gloves are off when it comes to how despicable they can act towards human beings.
Yeah, and the administration, it's the Q shirts, you know, like the brown shirts, these Q shirts now that are coming up everywhere, believing this craziness, and it's just getting more and more extreme. Not even that he has secret information, it's just that he's a racist, you know. You know what I mean? That he's just a right-wing nut, you know. And forget the secret information part, the clues. Now it's all just hey, we need to hate them and round them up as quick as we can. They're talking about rounding us up, you know. Anybody who doesn't think the way they do and fall for the gullible stuff that they fall for.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Totally. And I think that's evidenced more and more with the kind of stuff that these people are saying, mainstream and fringe. You know, it's almost no distinction amongst them. Well, Ed, I want to thank you for coming on the show and doing the full 2 hours with me. I know that it's a long it's a long time to talk. And also tell everybody where they can go to check out all of your work and plug any new shows you got.
They can all go to hell. No, they can find my shows. If you just Google OppermanReport.com, you can find my shows on Spreaker and iTunes and iHeart and all that kind of stuff like that. And YouTube, my YouTube channel got demonetized, so I pulled down 90% of the videos. Got a new sponsor, CartKing.com, who's just only the shows that I do where I plug him at the beginning. I'm going to be going up on YouTube unless I can get that situation fixed out. But that's where you can find OppermanReport.com, the special members section. You can help support the show. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I highly encourage everyone to check out Ed's stuff. I heard about YouTube. I'm almost done with YouTube entirely. I just don't even want to deal with them anymore. It's just they just suck at this point. But yes, OppermanReport.com. Highly recommend people going to the members section. There's a lot of really interesting shows and special guests that Ed has on there. There's one you were talking about recently I can't wait to hear. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and I will be talking to you next week.
No rules, no taboo topics, no fear of doom, We are American Freedom Radio.
Simply Clean Foods is dedicated to providing the best quality food you can buy next to fresh from a farmer's market. Our stringent quality controls and absolute zero GMOs plus testing for heavy metals makes us unique in the storable foods market. Our line of fruits, vegetables, and meats are suitable for everyday use, and you won't have to worry about throwing away valuable groceries ever again. Take out the amount you need and reseal the package for use within the next 6 months. Simply Clean Foods' primary focus is to bring clean food to people all around the world and change the way we look at freeze-dried food in our daily cooking. Go to simplycleanfoods.net. That's www.simplycleanfoods.net today.
We all know that they're not telling us the truth. So stand up for your rights, demand the real medicine, and your right to use it and grow it. This is Rick Sensen, and you're listening to American Freedom Radio.
American Survival Wholesale is a proud sponsor of the American Freedom Radio. And when you purchase quality products from AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com, you help support this program. Our quality non-GMO foods do not contain MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or heavy metals. At American Survival Wholesale, you can choose from over 8,000 quality products, including self-defense weapons, bug-out bags, and long-term storable food at wholesale prices. We also have custom food packs available, including gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegetarian packs. If we don't have it, you don't need it. American Survival Wholesale is a veteran-owned and operated company which also supports our veterans in need, and we are very active in disaster relief. If you would like to become a distributor, please email us at bugoutamerica@usa.com or call 818-720-0759. We offer free consultations to answer all your questions. Do it today while things are calm. That's AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com.
Assassination. You know what's interesting about assassination? Well, not only does it change those popularity polls in a big hurry, but it's also interesting to notice who it is we assassinate. Do you ever notice who it is? Stop to think of who it is we kill. It's always people who've told us to live together in harmony and try to love one another. Jesus, Gandhi, Lincoln, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, John Lennon. They all said, try to live together peacefully. Bam! Right in the head. Apparently we're not ready for that. Yeah, that's difficult behavior for us. We're too busy sitting around trying to think up ways to kill each other. Here's one we came up with. It's efficient, too. Genocide, you know? Killing large numbers of people simply because they don't look like you, they don't talk like you, and they don't have the same kind of hats you do. You ever notice that anytime you see two groups of people who really hate each other, chances are good they're wearing different kind of hats. Keep an eye on that. It might be important.
You're listening to AmericanFreedomRadio.com, the network who perseveres in delivering intelligent debate, constructive dialogue with true independence. The freedom to broadcast the truth is not free at all. So what is American Freedom Radio worth to you? The empowering information with fun, honest and pure integrity behind it provides an example to follow. Friendships to flourish with the moral altruism that pulls no punches. The hosts sacrifice and show remarkable discipline in their duty to deliver quality radio in service to the community with strength, wisdom and loyalty. The founders of AFR wish to thank you personally for sharing your views and insights to make the best radio and alternative media. Now it's time for you to give something back and play a vital role in the future of America. Be as generous with us as we've been with you. Click on the donate banner at AmericanFreedomRadio.com or volunteer by emailing AmericanFreedomRadio@ymail.com. Vaccine, psychotropic drugs and artillery batteries not included.
Launch sequence initiated. We're now in the approach phase. Everything looking good. Control 0 out. Control is good. 5. Rocket count 4. 3. 2. 1. Okay.
Prepare your mind to experience American Freedom Radio.